Jonathan Zarkauer, Cantor Hollis Schachner is trying to send you a text.
Okay. Okay. I don't see it, but it's okay. I'll get it.
Hi, Alana and Jacob. Nice to see you. Hi, Jenna. Hi, Richard K.
Good morning, Richard.
Shana Tova, everyone.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Shabbat Shalom.
And Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, this is one of those years where you read the red type. Good morning, Richard.
It's so lovely to see everybody, either name or actual video.
Right now we are live on Facebook Live as well. And at a certain point, we will go to speaker view so that you'll only see on there the person who's speaking. But for now, you can wave and everyone can see you on our live stream and on Facebook Live. And if you want to turn on your cameras, just to wave at us one more time before we begin the service in 1 minute or two. Shana Tova, everyone. This morning, I was up early, and as I sat in my office at Temple Shir Tikva, looking out of my window, I was able to watch as the sun rose above the trees. With east-facing windows, I get to watch the sun rise up in the sky. Before I could see the sun above the trees, I still knew it was there. It had not yet risen high enough to be above the trees, but the light was already shining. And by the time I left my office, The angle of the sun meant I could no longer see it. Light is an amazing thing. The sun shines millions of miles away, and we feel its warmth, and our world is illuminated by its light. And we know that the sun is always there, even at the darkest point of the night and on the coldest of days. Rosh HaShanah and that cycle of our world reminds us that darkness will turn to light and warmth will return. Rosh Hashanah, celebrating the birthday of the world, reminds us that we are God's partners and have a part to play in recreating the world anew every year and ensuring that it is a place filled with warmth and light, love and kindness, justice and peace. This morning, I am illuminated by the light of a computer screen. Seeing your faces in front of me is bringing me so much joy and so much hope for the new year that we will celebrate, welcome, and then create together. This morning's service has melodies that we experience once a year to celebrate this festival. They remind us that it is Rosh Hashanah. Please join with us and remember, if you're on Zoom, just keep yourselves muted as we begin now with Lashana Tova Tikatevu.
Lashana Tova Tikatevu, 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 Lashana Tova Tikatevu.
We continue now with the words of Asher Yatzar on page 120.
Body and soul, help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. Adonai, Rofei Chol Basar, Rofei Chol Basar, Machli Lasot, Baruch Ata Adonai, Rofei Chol Basar, לעשות.
Sing it with me.
We turn now to page 142 and we rise as we are able, facing towards the east, for the words of Baruch Hu.
let's take a moment now together for a deep breath to appreciate this gorgeous New England New Year's Day. One good deep breath, everybody. And let's do something we don't do enough of nowadays, which is take our eyes off our screens. So if you're in a room where there's a window, let's do something that I learned from my Rebbe, Susan DeSelms. Let's look out the window to the farthest spot that you can possibly see. Find a patch of sunlight, find a tree. It's a cloudless day. I would normally say find a cloud, but maybe find a leaf. Find something to lay your eyes on that's natural and refreshes them a little bit. If you're in a house or a room without a window, find something you love to look at the space that you're in. Maybe the picture of Shir Tikva we sent you, or maybe a piece of art on your wall. Find something that refreshes your eyes other than the screen, that feels natural to you, and take a deep breath and enjoy it while we listen to this morning poem by Mary Oliver. Hello, sun in my face. Hello, you who make the morning and spread it over the fields and into the faces of the tulips and the nodding morning glories and into the windows of even the miserable and crotchety. Best preacher that ever was, dear star, that just happens to be where you are in the universe, to keep us from ever darkness, to ease us with warm touching, to hold us in the great hands of light. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Watch now how I start the day in happiness, in kindness. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. We take now a moment to prepare for saying Shema together. So if you're wearing a talit, we can take all four corners of the talit into one hand as a way of symbolizing bringing together all that is broken and all that feels far apart and repairing it and making it feel like one, making it feel whole. So we take the four corners of our talit, we cover our eyes with our hands, and we take a moment to really breathe and to think what's in my heart that I want to share with God right at this moment. And sometimes that's right on the surface, and sometimes it's buried very deep. So see if you can find your prayer and breathe with us as we say Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha v'chol nafshecha uvechol meotecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levanecha vedibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam lehot al yadecha vehayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedushim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem Hashem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem l'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Emet.
The Shema and the Ve'ahavta speak beautifully about our love for God, but they also speak beautifully about parents and children and the relationship that we have with one another. And so at this moment in our service, in this family service of B'yachad, when we celebrate being together, we offer a prayer to be said by all of us together. And so the first prayer, which is to be said by those who are somebody's child, we join together. Holy One of blessing, I pray for the health and happiness of those I love. May the ones who take care of me try to understand me, and may I understand them. May the ones who raise me help to keep me safe, and may I be safe in their care. May we grow to be close to each other, while each being independent and strong. May this new year be a year in which the hearts of those who raise children turn towards their children, and the hearts of children turn towards those who care for them. And then a prayer to be said by those who raise and care for children. We join together. Holy One of blessing, I pray for the health and happiness of the children you have entrusted to my care. May I do all within my power to hold them close and keep them safe. May I do all that I can to encourage them to breathe free and let them fly. May we be inscribed this year for blessing, health, and peace. To the children we say, may God make you as Ephraim and Manasseh, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel. And with the words of the priestly blessing, may God bless you and keep you. May God's presence shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may God's face shine upon you and give you all the blessing of peace. And together we say Amen. And now, if you're in the room with children or with parents, it is, as we say, mandatory hugging and kissing time. And if you're not in the room, for some of us who are in other rooms on our own or can't be with those people, it's time for texting. Mandatory, send a text to the person that you're thinking of that you wish you could be giving that cuddle and that kiss to right now, wherever that may be. And after we've had a chance to send that text, give that hug, receive that kiss, we can turn together to the words of Micha Mocha that we'll find on page 164.
Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh. Again, Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh.
We rise now for our Amidah and we face east once again. These prayers begin on page 166. Adonai sifatai tivka ufia gitehi latecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וחולפינו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים וחולפינו בספר החיים וחולפינו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיים איתי אתה רב להושיע מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיים איתי ברחמים רבים צריך נופלים רופאים חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים באמונתו לשני עפר מחמוך על גבורות ומידות מלך מלך מביט ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע מחמוך אל הרחמים זוכר יצריו לחיים ברחמים ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. We continue now with the prayer Unatana Tokef on page 175. Unatane Tokef Kedushat Hayom Ki hu nora ve'ayom uvoti naseh malchutecha v'kon b'chesed kisecha v'teshev alav be'emet.
We continue now with a responsive reading written by Rabbi Chaim Stern for the words of this most awesome of prayers that we share on this day. Let us proclaim the sacred power of this day. It is filled with awe and dread. You write it and you seal it. You record and recount. You remember deeds long forgotten. You open the book of our days, and what is written there proclaims itself, for it bears the signature of every human being, as we read responsively. On Rosh HaShanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. Who shall be filled with life, and who shall merely exist?
Who shall burn with the fires of greed? Who shall drown in the waters of despair?
Who shall hunger for goodness? Who shall thirst for justice and right?
Whose sharp tongue shall speak unkindly of others? Whose gentle words shall make for peace?
Who shall be plagued by fear of the world? Who shall strangle for lack of friends?
Who shall be shattered by the storms of change? Who shall be plagued by the pressure to conform?
Who like beasts shall use violence to gain power? Who shall shake up the world with just actions?
Who shall be calm in every storm? Who shall be troubled by the passing breeze?
Who shall be poor, never appreciating what they have? Who shall be rich, content with exactly what is theirs? We know that all of these things we cannot control. We have no power over all of them, but we do have the power over our actions and the choices we make in the way that we respond. And at this time of year, we respond with repentance, prayer, and tzedakah, knowing that they have the power to change the character of our lives and to return us to God.
Uteshuva, utefila, utzedakah, mavirin et ra hagizerah.
If you'd like to now continue with the words of your own silent private Amidah, please do so as we continue singing the words of Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom bimromah, Hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imnu Oseh Shalom bimromah, Hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oseh Shalom bimromah, Hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru
As we turn to page 223 for Avinu Malkeinu, this prayer, which is at the heart of all of our holiday services, has this dual image for us of God, one as Avinu, our parent, our carer, and the other as Malkeinu, our sovereign, the ultimate judge. And we're torn between these two metaphors for God all through our high holidays. And I think in this prayer, where we use both of those words together, we're reminded that we are both the loved and the one who is cared for. And also we are subject to the world. We are subject to all that happens. And through this whole prayer, of which we'll sing the refrain in just a moment, if you look through it on pages 223 and the following pages, you'll see that these, the things that we are asking for are all over the board. Some of them are ultimate chutzpah. How can we ask that we should have no more sickness and violence and hunger, but yet we are here understanding ourselves to be important enough to ask for those things? How can we ask that there be no more pain and terror ever? Of course we need to ask for that. And then in our final verse at the bottom of page 223, we see that we understand that we are small, that who are we to be asking for this? And yet we ask anyway. We join now together with Cantor Hollis at the bottom of 223.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Haneinu v'Haneinu, Ki ein banu ma'asim, Asei manu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Asei manu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Be'hoshienu, Asei manu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Asei manu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Be'hoshienu.
We'll be turning now to our Torah service, which will begin in a few pages. And Cantor Hollis will be reading to us from our Torah portion. The portion that we're reading this morning is the story of the Akedah, the story of the binding of Isaac. And this story, which is very famous, is a very troubling story. It says that God asked Abraham early one morning to take his son, his only son, or the only son of that mother, his son Isaac, whom he loved, up onto a mountain and to sacrifice him there. And at the last minute, Abraham did this. And then at the last minute, an angel or a divine messenger of some kind comes and stops Abraham and tells Abraham not to sacrifice his son, that God would not have wanted that. And Abraham looks up and sees a ram caught in the thicket and sacrifices that ram as a Thanksgiving offering instead. And of course, this story we could see is very troubling for any number of reasons. But I think this year, one of the struggles that we have with it is it says that the reason that God was asking this of Abraham was to test Abraham. And those are the verses that Cantor Hollis will read for us about this being God's test. But I think in a year like this one, our question of whether God tests us is a particularly troubling one. I don't know that I believe that God puts us to the test. That is not the kind of God I would want to believe in, where a challenge as in sacrificing one's own child would be something that we would be asked to do just for some divine test. However, I wonder this morning if the real miracle of this story, and maybe even the real test in this story, is that Abraham asks when he's told to stop. And I just imagine if he was in the middle of this action that he must have taken so much energy to do, to be able to stop on an instant and be able to divert his gaze. And it shows us, I think, that we can't always hope for a miracle to stop us and save us, but that we can, when we have the opportunity to stop and change our action, we can do the next right thing to do. So Cantor Hollis will read to us from the beginning of this story from the Torah. And when she does, I'll invite you to think about what the test of Abraham really was, do you think, and if he passed this test. So we'll hear, as we bring out our Torah, we'll hear the words of Al Shlosha, And then we'll turn to page 240 for our Torah reading.
שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים.
So we have the Torah out in front of us, and we have the honor of inviting Allison Wyko and Maddie Wyko up to say the Aliyah on behalf of our whole community today. Ta'amdu Mira bat Chasha v'Rav v'Chasha bat Golda v'Shmuel le'Aliyah la Torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'anim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayi achar ha'devarim ha'ele ve'ha'Elohim nisa et Avraham vayomer elav Avraham vayomer hineni Vayomer kachna et binecha et yechidecha asher ahavta et Yitzchak v'lech lecha el eretz hamoriyah v'alehu sham leholah al achad heharim asher omar elecha vayashkem Avraham baboker vayachavosh et chomoro vayikach et shnei narav ito ve'et Yitzchak beno vayivaka et se'olah vayakom vayelech el hamakom asher amar lo ha'Elohim. And after these things, God tested Abraham, and God called to Abraham, and he answered, Hineni, I am here. And God said, your precious one, the one you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah and sacrifice him there as an offering upon the mountain that I will show you. And Abraham rose in the morning and saddled his donkey, and he took 2 serving boys and his son Isaac and the wood for the offering, and he got up and went to the place that God showed him.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet l'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
And now with our Torah in front of us, we know in our tradition that we can say our blessing, our prayer for those in need of healing, healing of mind, of body, of spirit, and of soul. And we'll join now in the words of Misha Beirach with Jonathan on page 245.
Berach Avoteinu Mikor HaBracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. Let us say Amen. Yisheberach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We've returned our Torah back to its place on the table there. And we'll turn back in our books to page 202 to what is known as the Great Aleinu. So we know the Aleinu from the closing of every service, but its origin is here in the middle of Rosh HaShanah morning. And in Rosh HaShanah, as I said before about this metaphor of God as parent and as sovereign, the idea of God as sovereign is one of the central metaphors of this holiday. And we might feel at any point like God has other metaphors that we feel most connected to. God can be something stable like a rock, or something flowing through us like water. God can be our shepherd guiding us, or like a gardener tending us with care. God can be the most amazing parent ever, comforting us and encouraging us and helping us to be our best selves. But now we acknowledge here in the Great Aleinu that one of the metaphors we need at times is God as king or queen. And this image is here because we experience God on this day as the master of creation, as the creator of creation. And this is the one time in the Jewish year where when we come to the bow in Aleinu, that we bow all the way to the ground. And that bow, it looks kind of like child's pose in yoga, if you are familiar with it. And those of us who are leading will take this bow this morning. We may disappear from your screen. And especially since you may be someplace comfortable at home where you can do this, we invite you to bow like this as well, all the way to the ground when we get to the line, V'anachnu korim, and then rise again for the rest of the prayer. And now it is time for our shofar. And if you have a shofar at home, I invite you to run and get it now. And we will get to hear our amazing Baal HaTikiyah sound the shofar for us, Paul Roberts. And if you would like to join with him, you may sound yours too for Tikiyah Gedolah. This Rosh Hashanah, as we hear the shofar, may it wake up our hearts and our souls. May it give us hope and courage. May it remind us that all of us who hear the shofar are connected and that together we are strong. And we'll turn to page, I will tell you as I can find it, 284 for our shofar blessings. I'll invite Cantor Hollis to recite our blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'hikiyamanu v'higianu lezman hazeh.
Please join with me in the shofar calls. Tikiyah. Shvarim Trua. Tikiyah. Tikiyah. Shvarim. Tikiyah. Tikia, Trua, Tikia Gedola, thank you, Ad Yasher Koach. We turn now to page 286 for the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, לתקן עולם במלכות שדי, ונאמר בהיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
We will be concluding our service in just a few minutes, but I would like to invite any of you who are here in our Zoom who would like to have a conversation with us about the Torah portion and about the story of the Akedah and God's testing of Abraham to stay on our Zoom after our service concludes. We'll be stopping our live stream at that point, but I'd love to have a conversation with you about that Torah portion. Now, though, we turn to the Kaddish, the Mourner's Kaddish on page 292. We are always so aware at this time of year, at any holiday, but especially at a time like this one where we are talking about questions of life and death and creation of those we have lost, those in our families, those in our country. There are people you may be thinking of today who are not sitting next to you because they have died. And although we do not say Kaddish yet for someone in Jewish tradition who has not yet been buried, I want to acknowledge the loss last night of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a member of our Jewish community and an amazing figure of justice in our country. So although we don't say Kaddish for her, we do remember her now, as well as all those others who we surround ourselves with in our memory, as we rise for the Mourner's Kaddish and say it together on page 292. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'almad yivarach yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayeh dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shmei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May their memories truly be for a blessing. And now, we all are in need of blessings right now. We are in need of all the blessings that we can come up with for this new year. So I want to invite all of you who are on the Zoom here with me to take a moment, well, everyone, to take a moment and think of the blessings that you need and hope for us all in this new year. And if you are on the Zoom or if you are on Facebook, I invite you now to put in the chat the blessings that you are thinking of this year as we enter 5781. Blessings for yourself, for your family, for people you love, blessings for our country, and blessings for the world. The blessing of health, for strength, courage, and compassion. The blessing of peace, health, justice, and wholeness. Togetherness, persisting and enduring, patience and understanding. May all these blessings and more, blessing of empathy, of tolerance and understanding, blessing for the children, and all the other blessings that we have in our hearts and in our thoughts. Come with us to this new year. And I invite you again to stay on our Zoom after for a conversation as we sing again the words of L'Shana Tova Tikatevu. May we all be inscribed for a good blessing this year. Shana Tova. Cantor Hollis, I invite you to sing L'Shana Tova Tikatevu.
L'Shana Tova Tikatevu, 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 L'Shana Tova Tikatevu. Shana Tova Umetuka, a good, sweet new year to all.
Shana Tova.
Atova.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.